Welcome, my loves. I am so freaking excited for today's topic. And all turned up. I'm going to share with you in a second what it is. Before, I just felt the urge to share with you that even though I like to get pretty, I like to do my makeup, and the setup is cute and all of that, the work we do is deep. So just because this channel looks cute doesn't mean that the inner work always looks cute. It's quite the opposite, especially if we open up to the ancient DNA wounding. There are things that will come up that will require you to go to some really primal places. So the wounding that has been there for eons, that is in our DNA memory, might look really, really freaking ugly because it's painful. So as we're opening ourselves to that level of healing, there are certain tools that help us to move that energy. In my one-on-one work and in my courses, I go deep into the tools that we have or that we can use to move these painful memories and that energy that comes through in order to let it out. This is a topic that I'm going to address in another video. I just felt the urge to share that right here, right now, because the last topic we had was kind of deep, and this can trigger some ancient memories. So if there's ever something coming up and you feel like you need extra assistance, please comment, or you can contact me under sedonagoddess.com, either for a session, or if a topic that we spoke about triggered something, you can always ask a question. And of course, within honoring my space, I will answer you and I will assist you. So I just felt like sharing that. But today though, today is our Build a Union play shop. So this session is going to be about you creating that sacred union, first of all, within the womb of creation. So in the mental realm, in the celestial realm, and within. And I want you to picture a kind of like build a bear situation, but we're not in a ratchet mall in Kansas. We're actually in the celestial realms. And so let's dive into this for a second. Let's take a deep breath. Make any noise that you feel like making, because we're setting up the space. Let anything out that isn't serving. Shoo. And I want you to picture for this little while that we're doing this today, that your very essence is in a place beyond time and space. And we're surrounded by colors of gold and white. And we're breathing deep. And in that space, you have complete access to your soul's desires. Your soul's excitement. Your soul's splendid glee. And there is this pure, godly excitement for this union, to experience the love that is within, mirrored by another soul. And your soul doesn't know any limitations. Your soul is in complete tune with your creational power. Doubts do not exist. Limits do not exist on the soul realm. So, how does that union feel that your soul is desiring? And so, your soul doesn't know, again, any limitations. Your soul doesn't think or believe that, well, yes, in the depth of existence and my existence, I desire this, but I feel like I'm too traumatized. But I feel like I've reached a certain age where love is just not in my cards anymore. I am just not successful yet, or I have children from marriage that failed, or I'm missing a leg, or whatever. Your soul is not tapped into that realm. Your soul is connected to the beauty of your core desire. And something that we have to learn yet, a lot of us, is that our soul came here or is with us to liberate our earth self. But we got it twisted. Our earth self is currently putting shackles on the desires of our soul. And that's not how it was intended to be. And especially when it comes to probably the most sacred agreement on this planet, which is the sacred union. There are so many belief systems that are putting shackles on your soul. Because all your soul is this pure enchantment, this pure glee, the purity of creation. I want to experience this. There is nothing else. And your earth self is putting all these limitations on your soul. You can't experience this because of this and blah, 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 blah. It's all nonsense. It's all complete and utter BS. So before we get into this topic, I want us to prime ourselves accordingly and already make room for more beauty instead of having our limiting beliefs come in right now. It doesn't matter what your age is. It doesn't matter what your culture is. It doesn't matter what your history is. The only thing that matters and is of matter is, what does your desire feel like? And then you can choose if you want to trust that soul realm again, or you can choose if you want to trust these limitations that your earth self created due to trauma, due to programming, and due to lies that your earth self is believing. Anytime you choose your soul, you will live in a soul matrix. You will live in your soul's reality. So you get to decide. And our first step in creating this union, and this really does, it doesn't matter if you're single or if you're in a partnership. This is for you. And if you're single, beautiful, then we're working with a blank canvas. If you're in a partnership, that is also beautiful, because if this partnership is currently not really fulfilling your true heart's and soul's desire, we get to renegotiate. We get to set up a new agreement. We get to set up new parameters for our relationship. So either way, as you get certain and as you get clear on what your soul really desires, everything around you will arrange itself. And you might think, well, but with my current partner, we met in this way and it doesn't seem like I can have it with him. Well, maybe the current version that you are can't experience that with him. But what if the current version that you are is keeping him in a certain confinement of being that version that he is with you? Like a lot of times when we put on the glasses of purity and we get excited and we look at our man like this is the first time we're looking at this beautiful being and I don't know anything about him. Here are my desires. And instead of thinking and instead of already projecting that he's not going to fulfill or mirror these desires, let's get curious. Who will this man become as I'm becoming the version that is worthy of this desire? And there we go with too high standards. A lot of times women believe that their standards are too high, or that what they hold within their hearts is ridiculous, that it's dreamy, that it's too romantic, that it's whatever, just not attainable. And because they brush it off, they live and settle for lowest standards. They do not take their soul's yearning serious. And that's the first thing I want to eliminate. For your soul, there is no such thing as too high of a standard. Your union is going to affect generations and generations on this planet. I don't know how much it is, but I think 10 generations in, it's like this absurd number where you have like 100,000 people carrying your DNA, maybe even more. Don't quote me on the numbers. But your sacred union can impact hundreds and thousands of people that come after you or are the offspring, the fruit of this union. Your union is what's going to build an empire, a foundation in both of your lives. Your union is going to be the generational wealth creation. So due to your wisdom or the wisdom of this union, generations in will be wealthy because of the two of you. Wealthy in finances, wealthy in wisdom. This union or this partner will pass on his DNA to your children. He will be the father to your children. He will be your eternal lover, and he will play this role as an eternal lover. He will be your spiritual teacher and your student. He will be your brother and your best friend. And if we think about the implications of all of this on a planetary level, this is major. This is a major responsibility, and this is a major agreement. This is a divine affair. This is a godly affair. Your sacred union is a divine affair, not an earthly affair. So if we look at it from this perspective, how could there be such a thing as too high of a standard? And what I see in my surrounding is most women do not have a problem with too high standards. Most women have a problem with way too low of a standard. As you write that list, and we'll get to that in a second, you will write down your highest standards. And if you feel these standards are too high, it's because your current version does not match these standards. But your eternal version and your soul is craving to match these standards. So all that is in between you and these standards is inner work, soul work. That's it. If right now you believe that your standards are too high, it's because you are not embodying your potential and you are not embodying these standards. So that's beautiful, because this is something that you're completely in control of. You will be and become that person that is a perfect match to these standards. So this is why our first step is to get clear on what is a relationship for me, and to get really certain. And if we look at it from this really celestial perspective, again, a relationship is a divine affair. So a lot of times, and I work with a lot of women, and I see a similar pattern. It's this uncertainty. There is the heart's longing that is desiring this union, that is desiring this intimacy, that is desiring a partner that they can build with. And yet, a lot of women are not able to authentically, truly, honestly tap into this desire. So you will hear something like, yeah, a relationship would be kind of nice, but I don't need a man. Yeah, of course, it would be great, but there's a lot of buts. Not the good kind of but. So, sorry, stupid. So there are a lot of conflicting beliefs within, because they're not being truthful. They're almost not allowing themselves to honestly say, my heart craves it from its core. Like, I dream of this union. I dream of this intimacy. They do not allow themselves to go that deep because they believe they can't have it. So they're not in tune with this core belief. When this core belief, or not even belief, this core desire is what would allow them to magnetize this union. So that's why certainty is magnetism. But if you're in the state of uncertainty, where you're not clear on what you desire in a relationship and you're not clear on what you desire in your partner, there might be trauma in the way. There might be wounding in the way. Because it's not natural for a being, for a woman, to not be totally in touch with her desires. The nature of a woman is to feel, to crave, to yearn, to be excited for these desires, and to have them so vividly in your field, and to feel them so palpable in your heart. That's the nature of a woman. But a lot of times, especially when it comes to relationships and the union, women are not in touch with their heart's desire and the essence of their longing, whether they're currently in a relationship or not. It doesn't matter. A lot of women who are in relationships are not really clear on what they're desiring and what their soul is longing for. So get clear on that. And I promise you, you will have that. Because guess what? Your earthly limitations are BS. But as long as you choose to believe them, you live in this matrix. But you can choose to believe your soul, because your soul will always feel a little more truthful, right? Your soul will always feel expansive. So as you decide to live in the truth of your desires, you will magnetize all of this, and limitations do not exist. So what is it that you desire? And if you're really certain that right now you're not looking for the man that you're going to build your life with, if you're still exploring, that's beautiful too. That's a certainty, at least. What's sketchy to me is when women do not know at all. When women are out of touch with what they're currently desiring in their life. So if you're certain that just right now is not the time for a really like profound relationship that is going to be the foundation of your life and your children's life, that's beautiful. This video is for those of you who are truly desiring the sacred union. I'm not going to use the word twin flame union right now because it's very distorted. We'll get into that in another video. But that sacred union, that eternal lover, this is if your heart is desiring that and if you are ready for that, but somehow you find yourself in situationships or experiences that are just not fruitful, or you're in a relationship that just feels very surface level, or you're in a relationship where your core values do not align. Forget all of this. We are building a union from scratch today in this session. And this is going to be exciting, and this is going to be really, really powerful. So let's start with step number 2. Step number 1 is, what is a relationship for me? And you can pause the video right here, grab a pen, grab some paper, and start to make notes, start to journal, start to allow the channel to come through you, connect to your heart and write it out. You can also do that afterwards. But step number 2 is, who is making the decision and who is the one desiring? So let me give you an example out of my life. 5 years ago, I wasn't clear at all in what I desired for a relationship. I was in a deeply wounded state without even being aware that I was deeply wounded. I was just navigating my life with very little awareness. Like, I would just take things as they come and then try to make the best out of it, but I didn't have a plan. Not because I wasn't strategically minded, but because I grew up in a grid that was very limiting. So I believed a lot of lies and I believed in a lot of my programming. So I didn't believe that magical beauty or eternal beauty was accessible for my life. So 5-6 years ago, if you would have asked me, well, what do you want out of a relationship? I wasn't certain. I couldn't have told you. I wasn't certain that I wanted children, and I wasn't certain that I wanted marriage. I was in a lost space, and that was beautiful for that time. That's where I needed to be. And I went into this QHHT session. This is when I started to get really curious about quantum healing, and I already knew that I wanted to embark on this teacher training. So I scheduled a session in Los Angeles, and I was without expectations. And so I went into the hypnosis. And what QHHT is, it completely drops you into a different story. Now, I always tell my clients, it doesn't really matter if you believe in past lives or not. It doesn't really matter if what is shown to you is truly a past life. QHHT and your subconscious utilizes that state to separate your consciousness and your essence from your body. So imagine your awareness, your soul, your essence was taken out of your body and for just 24 hours placed in the body of a teenage boy in a third world country. Your complete perspective on life would change forever. You would be a changed person once the essence comes back into your body, right? Because you got to witness life through the eyes of someone else. A person with completely different belief systems, a completely different surrounding. This would change your life forever. That's basically what quantum healing does. Within this hypnosis, within this trance state, your consciousness is placed in a different body. And through that, you are able to experience your consciousness without the limitations that your current existence has put on it. That is major work. So what I witnessed in my QHHT session was I was in a family pod, in a family unit. I saw a life, whether that was a past life or just a story that my soul placed me in. And I witnessed this life with this just beautiful husband and this healthy relationship and these beautiful children, 2 girls. And it was just a beautiful life. And I didn't just witness it, I felt it. Like I felt it in every cell of my being. And what happened was that I started to like literally sob for 20 minutes. I just cried my freaking eyes out. And what I realized and what was shown to me is that, wow, it's not that I didn't want marriage or that I didn't want children. I just didn't know what that love would feel like. Like I didn't grow up in a healthy family unit. And how could I know what it means to build my own? How could I know what it means to be loved by my children? How could I know what it means to be in a healthy marriage, like being deeply loved by my husband? I didn't know what that would feel like. Now I wouldn't trade my upbringing for anything in this life. The love that my mom gave me was very unique. There's nothing quite as special as the bond between a mom and the daughter, especially if you're a single mom with an only child. There's just something that is very, very special about this bond. And yet I didn't know what it means to have a healthy masculine energy around. I didn't know what it means to be loved by my children. So in that session, everything changed for me because I became aware that, oh my God, I do want that. I just didn't allow myself to want that because I didn't know how it would feel like. So maybe there is something like that in between you, your current self and your current state, and what your soul truly desires. So maybe this requires a session, maybe this requires just some inquisitiveness and curiosity and going into your belief systems. I'm always there for quantum healing sessions. They are profound, like truly profound and life-changing in that sense. So whatever it is. So the version of me 5 years ago was making decisions not based on my core soul desire, but I was making decisions based on my trauma. So I would choose partners that would match my trauma. I would choose partners from a masculine shield. And guess what? My masculine shield didn't have the goal to completely surrender to a man, to experience the depth of intimacy, to give my all to this relationship, to build a life with this person. I wasn't, because I wasn't there. So my masculine shield actually chose a partner that felt safe. It chose a partner that didn't masterfully show up in his masculine polarity. It shows a partner that was safe to my masculine. My masculine shield shows a partner that was more in his femininity, which would mean that I am automatically not as attracted to him. My masculine shield would choose a partner that felt inferior, maybe because he was the same age as me, or maybe because he hasn't achieved much in his life, or maybe because I felt somehow more intelligent or more mature or whatever. My masculine shield chose my partners partially, not all of them, but it played a role. So who's choosing your partners? Or then at other times, My completely distorted trauma chose a partner in which I felt so powerless and so unworthy and so disgusting and so full of shame and so full of guilt that I was choosing a partner based on whoever would just come along and be willing to be with me, literally. So it was this distorted white knight complex. So whoever was basically, yeah, you're broken, but let me save you. I was like, yes, please, which is just as distorted as the masculine shield. And the white knight is oftentimes a slave master. That's what we have to get. The white knight is oftentimes the predator. When you're in your power, you don't need a white knight. Your partner will have white knight qualities, but a healthy man that honors himself, that respects himself, won't look for a project to save. A man in his mature, developed, healthy essence will look for a woman that will meet that. Now, a man will naturally solve your problems and he will naturally protect you and provide for you. But there's a difference in someone who's picking up a broken girl to save her, or a man that chooses a woman in her power and chooses to solve her problems, provide for her, and protect her. That's very different. So, what aspects of you are currently or have in the past invited relationships? Was it your truest soul essence? Or was it filtered by, again, maybe your masculine shield or that trauma version of you? And a lot of times, if I look into relationships now, a lot of times the masculine shielding is working. Where women get into relationships with feminine men and the polarities are just switched. And then there is this, like, I see this a lot and you will see this. Like women who have this super self-aware go-getter mentality will oftentimes have a more feminine man next to them. And what that does is that your feminine essence won't feel safe to truly surrender. So in that, they created a protective shield. They deliberately chose someone that feels safe, someone that they wouldn't have to surrender to fully, someone that wouldn't get into their heart fully. Because maybe they've been hurt in the past. Maybe it wasn't safe to live that feminine essence. That's very interesting. And a lot of women who are very much in their pain body, in their trauma body, there is the sense of, I feel so unworthy, but I want to be saved. And this is where predatorial energies can come in. Or again, that slave master hidden as the white knight. So we have a solution for that. And this is our step 3. In order for these things to not happen, because it's like, even if you're on a deep healing journey, there might be some residue and that's fine. But with the next step, it doesn't matter. Because our next step is basically the safeguard. We'll make sure that who we choose is in tune with our essence and our divinity. And we will choose this person from our core soul desire and not some distorted shield or protective mechanism or wounding. And that is, we will create a list of volition and strategy. Now, again, if you still are at step 2, pause, journal, do whatever you got to do, boo, come back. And now we're at step 3. And volition is actually a word that I received from Christina. Like, she's an expert in quantum grammar, like on a jurisdictional level. Like, she will go to court and win. Like, that's her level of expertise when it comes to language. So I love language. I'm into etymology. I love to create powerful spells for my reality, to set up the new laws of my reality. So volition is, to me, actually a more powerful word than intention, because volo comes from the Latin word wish. So our volition is basically our wish list. And we create a strategy with that. So the wish list and the strategy, it's impossible to write a list of your soul's desires from your masculine shield. You won't be able to put it on paper. Like the moment we put something on paper, it becomes real. And your soul won't allow these traumatized versions to put whatever they think they desire onto a piece of paper. This list will literally save your ass. Like literally. And one second. Your soul, your innermost essence is the one that will create this list and this strategy for your union and what you desire in a man. In that, your healthy masculinity will come in and create that list for you. Or the archetype of the governess, La Gobernadora, the archetype that I love to work with. She's the one making sure that your truest essence is safe. So this list is her strategy, the governess's strategy for you to be safe and for you to really magnetize what you truly desire. So when we create that list, now we have a strategy and we have it on a piece of paper and we have our manifestation on a piece of paper or in a book. And now what happens is that there is a protection shield around you that will make sure that you're not getting yourself into a relationship or situationship just because of the current magnetism of the moment. And anytime someone comes to me with uncertainty and I ask them if they have a list, the answer is no. Every woman should have a list. Like this is literally the thing that will create the most beautiful union for you. Every woman should have a list. Every woman should have a strategy. It doesn't matter if you're single or in a relationship. I'm in a union and I'm in my union, not a union. I'm in the union and I still have a list because my desires, they bubble up to the surface more and more. And I am here to fulfill my soul's desires. I am not here to give in to earth limitations or the limitations of my partner. My soul will experience its purest desire through me, and I will make sure that happens. So anytime there is a new desire bubbling up for my union, for what I would desire in my man, I put it on this list. And trust me, it's being fulfilled. So what I mean by that is, are you listening to the current magnetism of the moment, or are you listening to your list? If we don't have a list, it's very easy to be kind of like this leaf in the wind where we go just from current to current, and whatever just feels good in the moment is what we engage in. And this can get us into some trouble if we're not aware. And not just trouble, but this can also get us into these situationships where we invest ourselves and it's just not bearing fruits because this person didn't meet the requirements of our eternal partner, our eternal lover, our eternal union, and the father of our children. So I don't want to say we then wasted 2 years of our life, but we gave our precious life force into something that we might have not opted in if we had a list. And I'm sure we've all been there. Like, I've been there. Like, I will lose myself or my feminine, because I have a deeply feminine aspect that will just lose herself in a current emotion, or in a current magnetizing moment. Like, I am very romantic at my core, and I am like very easily enchanted if the moment is right. So back then, that was also quite naive because I didn't have the list. I didn't have the governess archetype to safeguard that feminine aspect. So let's say I was like, back then I lived in West Hollywood, and I was somewhere in a beautiful mansion in the Hollywood Hills. And, there were these like just massive parties and all these Dubai rich kids. And all of a sudden I was like just enchanted with this guy, not because he was enchanting, but there was just beauty all around me. And I'm like, wow, a man will make this better. So there was a potential for me to lose myself in that. And don't even look at it from a strategic, logical sense of, does this person meet my requirements? Now, there's nothing wrong with giving into the enchantment of a moment if you are aware of your list, and if you're like, I don't know, maybe you're dating and you've already scanned the list and the person is just not for you, but you're allowing the moment to still be magical, and you're still allowing that person to maybe give you some codes or give you a taste of what you'd like in a man, but with all the other things that are on your list. So you will make sure, the list will make sure, that you're not falling for one good quality, but 90% of this person doesn't match your actual soul desires. But there's one enchanting quality, and you're just like giving yourself into this, and you just see where it's going. I don't believe in the whole, let's just see where this is going. No, if you're certain, you're certain. And if you have a list and the man is matching your list, and the man has shared core values and there is magnetism, I don't have to see where this is going. I am certain where this is going because I choose this, because I made sure that my preparation work is guiding me to the right energetic. So emotional or physical, I wrote that down. Emotional or physical attraction can only be trusted if backed up by logic, and that's why we have that list. Like, my attraction isn't trustworthy, and that's not a bad thing. I can trust myself, but the attraction that I feel towards some people can't always be trusted, because it can come from all sorts of places. Just because you have magnetism with someone doesn't mean shit. It really doesn't. Because this attraction could come from a past connection of victim abuser thing. Like, I had that recently where I met this guy and I could just feel like my body was reacting to him. There was a magnetism that I couldn't deny. And later on, I found out through a beautiful friend of mine that actually used to be with him that he is a rapist. He's massively abusive, and he's a psychopath. And it was very interesting. I'm like, now isn't that interesting that my body reacted to that? And if I would have taken my magnetism serious, or if I would have taken that attraction serious, I don't know, maybe a younger version for me would have gotten into this, or would have been curious to explore that. If you have a list of things you desire in your sacred union or in a relationship, and things you desire in your man, attraction becomes absolutely uninteresting. It just becomes not important. It doesn't matter. You notice it in your body, and fine, that's it. So the magnetism doesn't matter unless your list is matching. So with my partner, with my man, like he is just like Like I knew it from the start. There was the sense of me that's like, oh my God, who are you, daddy? Like, I like you. Like, I respect you. I love the way you're showing up. You have cojones. Like, I love that. You have moxie. Like, who are you? There was definitely a magnetism. But I got to know him. And as I saw that he checked a lot of the boxes, I started to allow this magnetism to control my actions. So my magnetism was backed up by logic. Like we were on the phone for a long while. Like I didn't, like we saw each other, we dated, I was gone, we were on the phone. I got to know him and he was committed and we were both committed right from the start. So there was this beautiful symbiosis of my governance and my divine masculinity made sure that on a logical level, he checks all the boxes. And my divine feminine was like, oh my God, like I'm turned on by this man, right? And this is where we were meeting and dancing this dance. But this is why this list is vital. Because there was and I'm sharing this right now because there was a moment in the beginning where there was a red flag and I didn't overlook the red flag. I was like, oh shit, this is a big red flag. So yes, I'm magnetized by you, but it doesn't mean shit unless you will show me with your actions that this red flag doesn't matter. And he did. And only then did I allow myself to get more invested in this. So I always had the list as my guide, not the magnetism, not my emotions, because they can be very misguiding. They can be misleading. They can get attached. So that's how you'll make sure. And trust me, if every woman had this list, we wouldn't just squander our life force for something that we already know is not going to last. Or we wouldn't settle for, let's see where this is going. Because if you have the list and you are certain in what you want, you don't have to see where this is going. You will both steward it to where it's meant to go. That's very different. And this is especially important for the women that didn't grow up with honorable masculine energy around or didn't grow up with father energy around. If you grew up with a lot of like beautiful brothers around you or cousins that embodied very much of the healthy masculinity or a father that really was a role model to you, then you already come with this blueprint of what is a healthy man and what requirements does a healthy man meet. But if we don't have that, and a lot of us didn't grow up in that environment, we need this list. Like we really do. We at least have to write it down once. And for me, it's continuing because it's like my wish list. And why wouldn't I continue my wish list? Because I continuously have new wishes and desires, and my soul like wants me to fulfill them. That's my job here. So in that, I just want to speak on the red flags for a second. Just because someone is displaying a couple red flags doesn't necessarily mean he's out. If he fulfills 90% of your list, if he is a beautiful, healthy man, if he is committed, but there are certain red flags, that's okay. A red flag in that scenario simply means that's something you will have to revisit in your union. That's something that will eventually have to be transmuted within the union. And that's what a union is for. So if the person is like the absolute dream man, but there is maybe one red flag where maybe he's a little too attached, or maybe there is a little leftover codependency, or maybe he's a whatever, maybe there are little moments where he's closing off. These are red flags. That's all right. As long as both of you share the same core values and as long as both of you are in it for the evolution or whatever you desire in your relationship, you set up the rules. You set up the energetic container. And what is interesting is a lot of times women will have that reaction of like, oh, that's not romantic, or well, that sounds very strategic. Like when I met my man, he was aware that I was very strategic in my choice of partner. And he has never met a woman who was as strategic as that. But he loved it. It made him feel safe. It showed him that I value myself and that I'm intelligent about my choices, and that I only allow my heart to fully surrender to someone if it's backed up by logic, if it's backed up by logical safety. And that's actually a very safe way to approach. So women are, yes, we're very feeling based. Yes, we're emotional beings. And that's exactly why we shouldn't choose our, especially our marriage, our divine union, our partner, our relationships based on solely feeling and emotions. We should choose them based on a logical list and based on the person meeting my soul's desires and my earthly requirements. And then the feeling comes in, and then the emotion come in. And so it's interesting, for a man, it's actually quite the opposite. A man will oftentimes make his choice based on if the woman is able to really get this core level reaction from him. If she is really able to open up the key to his heart, if she can move him, if she can move the depths of him, if she can wake the parts that he thought were sleeping. So this is this nurturing aspect. This is the enchantress within us. This is the lover within us. She's able to get like this really deep core level emotional response from a man. That's what a man is looking for. So this is really different. A man chooses different than a woman. And so this list will save you. Like a lot of my beautiful girls and women in Germany, like a lot of my friends, if they had this list, they would have probably saved themselves from a lot of pain, raising their children alone, or being in a marriage where the man is just not fulfilling his role as the divine protector and the provider. Like this list is really your base foundation. So, stop right here, make your points, and we'll continue to step 4. Get clear on the roles. Like the first step was kind of like, what do you desire in a relationship? The fourth step is, what do you desire in a man? How do you want to feel next to this man? And what are the roles that this man will play in your life? And in the sacred union, you are not just lovers. This is big. Again, this is a divine affair. So there are many roles that you will be playing for each other within this union. And for me, one of the main and one of the most important roles that my man has to play is the role of the eternal lover. And whatever that means for you, like this is the list that you get to create. For me, my eternal lover gets me in a totally surrendered state. Now, with surrender, it's not that only your partner is responsible for you to surrender. that's also your own decision. Like, this is something that you have to give yourself into. But the right man will make it so easy to surrender. And for me to surrender, I desire a man that I feel like a little girl next to. Like, I want to feel like he's my protector. I want to feel like his gorgeous woman and his baby girl at the same time. I want to feel like his wifey and his waifu. For my anime freaks out there. So there is this, I wanted a man that I can feel a certain way next to. And so for that, he had to embody certain qualities. And so I was looking for this divine protector. Like that man that can really meet me on this deep level. A man that is very romantic, a man that is very passionate, and a man that, again, is this divine protector, meaning that he just has this natural affinity to protect women. And for a man to have that, like to have that innate protector essence, he has to love women. Like, only a man who truly loves women, who adores women, who respects women, will be this divine protector for women. Like, my man will protect any woman. My man will get into fights for a woman that is being mistreated. My man will make sure that every woman that steps into his field feels safe and protected. Like, he always says, I will head bump a train for this person. And he means that. But for that, my man had to love women. And my man had to have this innate sense of, I want to protect what is pure and what is innocent. So with that, I also wanted a man that purely adores other women. So for me, there was no sense of jealousy. To me, it's manly if a man recognizes the beauty in another woman. And it's unnatural if he only has eyes for me, but at the same time, he can innocently recognize the beauty in another woman. And so in that, there is no room for jealousy. Everything else would be unnatural for me. I am very monogamous. I don't believe in anything else. I think, to me, at this point, maybe this will change. At this point, it feels like a complete distortion. But my heart just fills up with joy if my man can truly adore another woman. And I love this about my man, because he's like, he can adore a woman that has curves and that has some weight to her. And it's like, he calls a goddess body. And I'm like, you are my man. Like, the first time when we saw like a really thick woman and he was like, oh, she has a goddess body. I'm like, you're my man for real. Like, there's something so beautiful in that. And I feel so safe next to him because he looks at me with the eyes of adoration. And I feel like there's no one that could ever compare to me in his eyes. And at the same time, it gives me so much joy if he values other women, if he sees the beauty in other women. So my eternal lover, he needed that aspect. And that's also what made me feel safe. Like, if he can honestly say, oh, this is a beautiful woman, and he can admire her beauty, there's nothing he has to hide. Another part was he had to be a provider. Like, he had, as my eternal lover, he has to be a provider. Because essentially, the role of my eternal lover is to magnetize me, to get my body in a state where I'm like, I am yours, take me. I am yours. I want to be entangled with you. For that, I will have to want to give my all to him. And so for me to be able to get into the state, I have to truly honor and respect that man. Like I have to honor and respect the divinity that is being displayed by this man at all times. And so one major aspect is he has to be a provider. Like I get disgusted by 50-50 relationships. I get disgusted by the energetics of we're equal. Let's split the bill. Today I pay, today you pay. It has nothing to do with the money. It's an energetic that to me is complete and utter weakness on both ends. I know this is quite an extreme view. That's just coming from my experiences. I haven't seen divine polarity being established in a 50-50 relationship. To me, my divine protector loves to provide for a woman. Like, in fact, the cultures that I love most, if you're a woman on the table, it doesn't mean if you're the friend of a friend of a friend. If there is a man on the table, no woman pays. Like, I grew up around these cultures and I just love it. I love it. Like, big shout out to all of my Middle Eastern men or my man from Asia, Southeast Asia. This is really common for men like that. Also, a lot of my Russian men will do that. So big shout out to you. And as a teenager or as a young woman, I didn't know like why I loved it so much. But now I know it's because that man was still in his masculine essence. And that masculine essence got me in my feminine essence. And it's something to me so admirable and something I love so much. And I believe we need more of that. Like for me to surrender and relax in my feminine essence, a man has to know his role as the masculine. And so to me, my eternal lover has to be a provider in order for me to even be magnetized to him. And he has to master masculine energetics. He has to be the master of polarities. Like I needed someone who's in that state of mastery, or at least willing to master it with me. So whatever that is for you, what do you desire in your eternal partner, in your eternal lover? Like what turns you on in a man? Like what makes your knees weak? What makes you want to fall into his arms? Like your man will have to provide these qualities because we're looking for an eternal union. We're looking for a lifelong marriage and the foundation of something really, really big. So of course he has to meet, for me, it's actually the first on the list. He has to meet my sexual needs, and he has to meet, and not needs, my sexual desires, and my desires are needs. So sexually there has to be this intense magnetism, and he has to be willing to play that part in order to have this dance of polarity and magnetism. The next one is, what do you desire in a father? Because if this is the sacred union and you want children, he will be the father of your children. So you have to share core values. You have to have these in common. And this is interesting. This got very clear throughout like the last 2 or 3 years where things got a little shaky in our surrounding. And all of a sudden I saw so many relationships split apart because they weren't clear on their core values. And all of a sudden, their partner showed weakness and obedience to fake laws, which nothing is more of a turnoff. And you don't want a father who displays weakness. You want a father that is in his sovereignty. You want a father that abides only by divine created laws, not fake man-made laws. So it's very vital, because what you are looking for in a father might be different from what you're looking for in a lover. Like maybe he has a lot of qualities that meet your requirements as the lover, or in a sexual romantic way, but maybe he doesn't have the qualities that you require in the father for your children. So the requirements for a father, and I just wrote some down, are again, is he a provider? Like, will he do everything it takes to provide for his children? Like, I've had circumstances where women didn't make sure that the man that they're having sex with is also a provider. And then what happens is you may have children, which is, it's a really big responsibility. So be really, really, really cautious with whom you bring children onto this planet. Nothing is more vital than that. If it already happened, beautiful. You can make 100 mistakes, and the 101 time you get it right. So that doesn't matter if it already happened. But I see women that sexually engaged with a person, or were in a relationship with a person, and the man was not a provider. And now they're no longer in a relationship. The man doesn't care for his children. He doesn't properly provide for his children. He doesn't even pay properly for his children. You, as a woman, have the job, the energetic job description, to safeguard this realm. You make sure which DNA is passed on and which DNA will have to die off. If it's a weak man next to you, do not sleep with him, and please do not have children with him. There is no such thing as too high standards. Make sure that this weakness will just die off, because no woman will decide to sleep with this weakness or will have children with this weakness. Like, this is something really vital. The way we choose the fathers of our children should have very high requirements. So make sure that man is a provider. The next one is, of course, stability. Is this man grounded? Is this a wise man that will pass on wisdom? Is this a man that is deliberately healing his family lineage? Is this a man with healthy DNA? Is this a man with good DNA to pass on? Is he patient? Is he a truth warrior? Is he committed? Is he certain? Is he honorable? Is he respectable? Does he walk his talk? All of these things. And of course, these are probably things that will also turn you on in your eternal lover, but they become even more vital if you think about the father for your future children, or maybe the father for the children you already have. So, very vital. So what roles does he have to play? The next one is, what do you desire in your wealth building partner? Because if we're in a sacred union, we will change the face of this planet. That means we will have a business, a sacred purpose together. And that sacred purpose will provide the foundations for generations to come. So he's all of a sudden not just the father of your children and your eternal lover, he's also maybe your business partner, your wealth building partner. So is he ambitious? Is he an alpha male? Which means, can he assert himself? Is he the kind of alpha presence that when he enters the room, other people listen? Is he walking through life with authority? And authority is never something you can fake. Authority is divine authority, which means this man is doing godly work, is doing the work of divinity. So therefore, there will be an aura of authority around him based on the work he's doing for this planet. It's not something you can fake. Authority is not cockiness. Is he financially literate? Like, I was in a relationship before this one, which was the white knight situation. Really careful with that. He taught me a lot of things, but he was very much in his femininity. So his financial literacy was not grounded at all. It was all about like the law of manifestation, about the law of like working with energies. And there was no financial literacy in a grounded level. And I hated it. I hated it because then I had to play this role. And I didn't want to be in my masculine like this. So like I can play this part if I have to, but I don't want to. I don't want to. I bring the femininity. That doesn't mean my partner can't live out his feminine aspects, but financial literacy on a very grounded level of like, does this person know how to make investments? Is this person smart with his investments? Is this person wasting or squandering resources because he doesn't know how to hold money? Like just these things, the stability part of it was very important for me. I bring the expansion, but I wanted my partner to bring the stability. So also like leadership qualities, devotion. Is he mission driven? Is he purpose driven? And is he successful? And to me, successful means someone who is driven by his mission and is actually able to provide all the good foods, a house, cars, like just the basic foundations. Is he successful in that sense? If he can't provide evolutionary basics for you, he's not successful. That is vital for choosing the right partner to build wealth with and to have as the father of your children. It has nothing to do with being a gold digger. I know who I am. I know what I came here to create. For that, I need a stable ground. And my man is this stability, is this grounding force. And on other occasions, I am that grounding force to him. So it's not as black and white, it's more fluid. But this is what I needed to expand. So these were my requirements in a wealth building partner, in a business partner. Because together we will lay the foundation of wealth, whether that is a form of wisdom, shamanic wisdom, and financial literacy. We will lay the foundations for the generations to come. So of course, as a business partner, he has to fulfill certain aspects and meet certain requirements. And the other one is your twin or your sacred union will always be your spiritual teacher and your student. So for me, I desired someone who carries deep wisdom, who's very in tune with the realms of mystery. I needed my man to embody shamanic wisdom. And I also, that doesn't mean that he has to have the same lineage that I do. Like, in fact, it's more fun if he doesn't, because then we can learn from one another. Like my man, we share some lineages. Like we definitely share our Taoist ancestor lineage, but there are lineages that are not as close to me as they are to him. So that was vital for me. I needed that intellectual and spiritual stimulation from my man in order to respect him as my teacher. And in my sacred union, I desired a man next to me that I could see as a spiritual teacher. I didn't want to settle for less. And I didn't want to be the only one like teaching. So we are both spiritual teachers and we are both our students. So in that, of course, I wanted someone who is devoted to God or the creation of our soul, to the ascension, someone who is also open and curious, and someone who sees me, like who can see me on a very deep level, who can see my essence on an eternal level. That was vital for me. That was a requirement that my partner needed to meet. And the same goes for him. So, let's take a breath and I'm going to take a sip. Like he has to, it's probably one of the biggest ones for us women. Our man has to honor our oracle. Like our man has to see the goddess in us, not on a superficial realm. Like this becomes vital when shit gets ugly. Like this is a base foundation. If he doesn't look at us with divine honor and divine respect, he will have an excuse to not evolve. If he looks at us like we are the oracle, we are the goddess, he will have to evolve because he will see what we are saying as truth. And he knows that what comes through us is the goddess, God, the creation of our soul speaking through me. So he will have to listen. If a man does not look at you, does not see you as the goddess, does not see the oracle within, he will have an excuse to constantly bypass the truth that comes through you. Like, whatever, she's just saying that, whatever, here we go again. If a man does that, F that shit. Like, this man is looking for excuses to not grow. Because the truth in him knows that you are speaking truth. Now we can become more masterful in our delivery, but sometimes the delivery is fierce. And when the goddess comes through in a fierce voice, my man will listen. Because at this point, he honors the goddess in me. He knows it exists. He honors the oracle in me, and he knows the sound of it. So I have a lot of fire in me. So my truth will often come out very fiery. And he is actually able to handle that. Like he is a strong ass man. And he can handle this divine fire. So when this truth comes out, where, maybe you mention it once and it doesn't quite land yet for the man, and you say it twice and maybe it doesn't quite land yet. But when my fiery truth comes out, he will listen. That's the oracle. And he will always respond to the oracle. So make sure that your man has that awareness. And this is a whole topic for another video, but that was vital for me to get in. So make your own list. Create your own list. And then simply eliminate all energetics that do not match your list. It's actually that simple. It's actually that simple. Like before I met my man, I was constantly working on my list. I was constantly adding things to my list. Every time there was a moment of the past where I'm like, oh, I really love this about my past relationship. Your past relationships, they only matter if there's some wisdom in it. Like if there's something that you would like to take away or something that was beautiful in that, you can add that to your list. If not, your past relationships do not matter. So I just want to, I know we're kind of like a lot on time, but I just want to share that one thing because I've seen that in quite a lot of women. When we when we've gotten ourselves into quite some traumatic relationships, we can tend to believe that this is all that there is, that relationships are just always hurtful, they're always traumatic, they're just always intense and so taxing to our being. That's BS. When you have that list, you will make sure that a relationship like that will never enter your field again. And there was a sad thing, like it was actually sad to me because I had this QHHT session with this gorgeous, beautiful woman. Like she was in her late, or she is in her late 60s, and she was just this, oh my God, there's this ball of radiance, like the sun walking into the room. Like she was like nice and she was thick and beautiful, and there was just so much life in her. And she told me, and in the session it came up, that her last relationship was when she was in her early 30s. So for almost 40 years, she was single because her ex-husband that she had children with and that last relationship was abusive and really traumatizing. And she was like, okay, I apparently can't trust myself with relationships, so I'm going to be alone until I can trust myself again. So 40 years later, she never ever engaged in a romantic relationship again. And it's this, because out of fear that the relationship would look like her first two. And I want that to completely delete out of your field. Your relationship will not resemble any of your past relationships unless your past relationships were beautiful. If not, your past relationships were weird trauma that has done its job, and that list will prevent you from these energetics. So your past relationships do not matter. They're the past. It's like they've never existed. And now what do you desire? Because she was kind of like in this, yeah, I don't want a relationship, which wasn't true. Her soul, her heart desired a romance, desired a man that would add to her life, that would add joy, that would be able to see her, that would be able to honor her, take her on beautiful vacations and adventures and dinners and cook with her and all of this. Any of that, her heart was like, of course. But a part of her was like, well, that doesn't exist, does it? And I'm like, fuck, yes, this exists. Fuck yes, if you allow your desire to like truly permeate and penetrate every cell of your being. She didn't want a relationship because she didn't want the relationships she had in the past. And I hear that from a lot of women. Like another beautiful woman that was just recently telling me, well, I'm just preparing to be alone for the rest of my life. And I'm like, she's in her like mid 30s. And I'm like, well, okay, but is that what you desire? Or why don't you prepare for the most beautiful union that comes from the depth of your soul? And it's like, when we get into that, of course, she wanted that. But this whole, like, I'm going to be alone, I don't care, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life, because she didn't want the pain of her last relationships again. And that's legit, yes. But that doesn't matter. What does your soul desire? Because our soul operates without the limitations and lies our earth self puts onto us. And that was just vital for me to share, that your future relationship will look nothing like your past relationships, unless they had some nuggets for you where you're like, I really liked what he did back then, or I really liked how he navigated that, or I really liked this trait about him. So they become a reference point for the things you did like. And if there was nothing, let it go. Let it go. What did you learn from it? What was the lesson? And then move on. Your future relationship won't resemble any of your past relationships unless they were beautiful. So with the list, with the roles, get rid of everything that is not that. Like I was in hermit mode for a year. I didn't date, I didn't contact anyone. I was just for myself because I was just so used to get myself entangled in someone else that I had to be alone. So I was on a complete diet. Like I was for myself. The only person who made love to me was myself. And I was regaining my sovereignty and I was regaining respect over myself. And I eliminated everything that wasn't of this caliber. Like I eliminated friend circles that didn't correspond to that frequency. I eliminated automatically every ex that was trying to get in the field, or any like person that wanted to date or that I saw in the past or whatever. I eliminated all of it. And I only allowed for that which is in frequency with my divine desire. And with that, it became very easy to magnetize my man because I simply said no to everything that wasn't of this frequency. Every man that didn't embody father qualities was just not interesting for me. Every man that was not 100% committed to his divine purpose is just not interesting for me. Any friend that was still like just dating and effing around and just, like distracting herself and kind of like flooding herself with addiction to not feel the pain, you have to go. So it became really, really easy because once you have that list, you just say no to every frequency that isn't that. And when you date, enjoy the date, but like don't waste your time. Like, hey, thank you, it was a beautiful date. No, we don't have to stay friends. Like this is this whole thing of like sometimes women do that. They feel guilty or whatever. Like that, like don't pity a man. Like that's gross. You went on a date, okay, cool. He's not like for you. It's not gonna be a relationship. No, you don't have to be friends. What the F is that even? Not interested. Like, bye. Yeah, it was a great night, or maybe it wasn't. We don't have to stay friends. So just eliminate everything from your field very fiercely, or not fiercely, but be very strict. Let the governess do her job. La gobernadora knows exactly what she needs to do. And she will keep your field clear from everything that is not of your highest desires, which is everything you are establishing now and everything we just established in this session. So also, again, the content you consume. Make sure this content is in alignment with what you want to create. That's as simple as that. And then there's womb healing, there are sessions, there's dance, there are practices that you can do to help you move these energies. And so there is, again, on a last note, there is still space available for my one-on-one containers. Since a lot of you asked, like, what are the ways to work with me? You'll find the link right here in the description box. It's a 12-week container in which we will go freaking deep. There's more info on the website. It's, again, until July, ridiculously affordable. This is my way of giving to you. If you're here in divine timing, take that chance. It's never going to be as affordable, and I'm excited to embark on this journey. So if you're interested in really deep transformational work, check this out. And I'm always available for quantum healing sessions. So I send you all the love. I am so freaking thrilled for you to create that list. And this divine mirror, he exists. If you exist, he exists. That's just what it is. So I'm excited for you to magnetize his energetics into your field. And again, if you are in a relationship, watch what that list will do. As you match the desires of this list, Trust me, your partner will do the same. He will. And if not at all, well, then at least he's showing you that he's not in it for what you're in, and he doesn't want to evolve. So he can make space for the man that actually wants all of that with you, and who's been looking for you, and who's been awaiting you. So I love you so much, and I see you next week, or sooner if you watch an old video of mine. Love you.